Hey everyone, welcome back. Tonight we're diving deep into a story that simmers with decades of resentment before boiling over into ice-cold justice. If you've ever felt like the underdog in your own family, you'll want to hear this. Grab that popcorn, maybe something stronger, hit like, subscribe, and settle in. This one's intense. They say blood is thicker than water. But sometimes, blood just leaves the deepest stains. In my family, I wasn't just the second son, I was the footnote, the awkward shadow cast by my older brother, Leo, the designated golden child. It started so early, it feels woven into my very first memories. While other kids were learning colors, I was devouring books. While they finger-painted, I was figuring out how things worked, taking them apart, putting them back together. I brought home stellar grades, certificates, glowing teacher reports praising my intelligence, my curiosity. What did it get me? A distracted nod from my mother, maybe an "isn't that nice," before her eyes inevitably drifted back to Leo. Leo, who looked like a miniature version of my dad, already broad-shouldered, loud, demanding attention. Leo, who could barely write his own name but could charm my parents with a gap-toothed grin and a completely fabricated story about beating up a bully twice his size. My father would boom with laughter, clapping Leo on the back, "That's my boy." Standing tall. My A+ paper would sit forgotten on the counter. It wasn't just neglect, it was an active dismissal. "Stop showing off with those big words," my mom would chide if I tried to explain something I'd learned. "Why are you always hiding in your room with books? Go be rough and tumble like Leo," my dad would demand. Leo could track mud through the house, break a lamp during a living room wrestling match. "Boys will be boys," the response would be, maybe directed with a wink at me, the "too clean, too quiet" one. If I accidentally spilled my milk. It was a lecture on carelessness, on being clumsy, on not paying attention, unlike Leo, apparently, who was perfect even in his chaos. As we grew older, the chasm widened into a canyon. Leo stumbled through school. Bad grades were excused as not applying himself or the teacher doesn't understand him. He discovered sports, where his size finally gave him an advantage, and my parents acted like he'd won the Olympics every time he managed a decent play. His exaggerated tales of athletic prowess became family legend, retold at every gathering. Meanwhile, I was quietly acing exams, joining the math and science clubs, starting to win regional competitions. My successes were met with suspicion or outright negative comparisons. "Don't make your brother feel bad, you know he struggles with this stuff." Or, "All that brain power, but can you even change a tire?" Leo could do that at 10. The label started then, sometimes whispered, sometimes thrown like a dart, the dreamer. The odd one. And eventually, solidifying into their favorite dismissal, the family failure. Because I didn't worship Leo, didn't follow my dad around like a puppy, didn't perform the role of the ideal son they envisioned. I think, subconsciously, I always knew how deeply unfair it was. But you internalize things as a kid. You think maybe they're right. Maybe being good at school wasn't as important as being loud and physically strong like Leo. Maybe I was the failure for not fitting in. That corrosive doubt ate at me for years, until one specific evening shattered it completely. I was 17. My crowning achievement of high school was winning the state-level physics prize. It involved designing and demonstrating a complex project I'd poured hundreds of hours into. It came with a significant scholarship to the state university's prestigious engineering program. It was validation. It was my future taking shape. I practically floated home, clutching the heavy award and the official scholarship letter. I found them in the den. Parents on the couch, Leo sprawled in the armchair. The TV was on. I stood there, beaming, holding up the award. I won. First place. And I got the scholarship. My mother looked up, a flicker of something. Surprise. Annoyance. "Oh. That's good, honey. Your father's trying to watch the game." My father didn't even turn around. He just waved a dismissive hand. Leo actually rolled his eyes. Wow. King Nerd strikes again. Before I could even process the profound lack of reaction, my father suddenly slapped his knee and turned to Leo, grinning. "Hey. Reminds me. Your coach called me today, son." Said you made that tackle in practice, absolutely flattened Jimmy Peterson's kid. Said you've got real grit, real power. Now that's something to be proud of. That's my boy showing M. They spent the next 15 minutes dissecting this single practice tackle. Leo puffed up, adding fictional details about his ferocity. My state-level award, my full-ride scholarship to engineering school, it was less than dust compared to Leo knocking over another kid in practice. The world tilted. The air felt thin. I just stood there, invisible, holding my meaningless prize. Later, needing to grab a book from my room, I passed their bedroom. The door was cracked open. I heard my name, and froze. My mother's voice, low and worried, all those books and awards, John, but look at him. He's so awkward. Not like Leo. Leo knows how to handle himself, how to talk to people. He'll land on his feet. But him. I worry he'll end up lonely, stuck in some dead-end job, too smart for his own good. My father's reply sealed it. It was the final nail in the coffin of my childhood illusions. Don't waste your worry, Martha. He's the spare, not the heir. Leo's got the fire, the build. He's the one who carries the name. The other one, he's just background noise. Always has been. He'll manage, probably leech off his brother someday like the family failure he is. Background noise. Spare. Family failure. Leech off Leo. The injustice of it all, the sheer, willful blindness, it wasn't a gut punch anymore. It felt like my heart had been ripped out and stomped on. The doubt vanished, replaced by a chilling, absolute certainty. They would never see me. They would never value me. In that moment, the love I thought I had for them, the desperate need for their approval, it just died. Something cold and hard settled in its place. I went to university on that scholarship, plus loans I scraped together myself. I worked relentlessly, driven by a quiet fury they had ignited. I majored in software engineering. Contact with home was minimal. Christmas visits were tense, filled with Leo's latest fabricated successes and my parents' thinly veiled criticisms of my boring life. They asked for money occasionally, usually for Leo, and seemed baffled when I politely declined, reminding them I was a struggling student myself. Their response? Guilt trips about family loyalty. The irony was suffocating. After graduation, I didn't take the safe route. I saw problems, inefficiencies, things others missed. I worked a soul-crushing corporate job for just long enough to save seed money, living like a monk. Then I quit. I founded my own company, aiming to solve a complex data bottleneck issue. It was brutal. Years of 100-hour weeks. Living in a tiny apartment, eating instant noodles until I was sick of them. Sacrificing relationships, social life, sleep. All of it poured into the code, into the dream. During one particularly bleak period, I swallowed my pride and called home, hinting I could use a small, short-term loan. The answer? Oh, honey, we can't possibly right now. Leo needs help buying that new truck for his landscaping business, which never materialized. You'll figure something out, you're the smart one, remember. Click. The smart one. The failure they expected to fend for himself. And I did. My software didn't just find a market, it revolutionized it. Deals were signed. Contracts grew. My small startup became a major player. And then came the acquisition offer from a tech giant. The number had so many zeros I had to read it 3 times. Suddenly, the family failure, the background noise, was a multimillionaire before the age of 35. I bought a house. Not flashy, but beautiful, modern, and secure. In a quiet, green neighborhood. Coincidentally, or perhaps subconsciously, it was only a town over from my parents. I didn't send an announcement. But news like that, money like that, has a way of seeping out in wealthy circles. The calls began, dripping with manufactured warmth. My mother, weeping with pride. My father, booming about my boy, the genius. Leo, suddenly my best buddy. It was a performance so transparent, so sickeningly false, it almost made me laugh. They invited me over. They fawned over me. They conveniently forgot every slight, every insult, every moment of neglect. Then came the inevitable pivot. They showed up at my doorstep one Sunday afternoon, uninvited. My parents looking frail, Leo looking shifty. The carefully crafted praise for my home barely masked the desperation in their eyes. After excruciating small talk, my mother started weeping for real. "Honey," she sobbed, "we have to tell you, things are terrible. Leo, he made some bad investments, your father's pension, it's gone. We might lose the house. We have nowhere to go." My father looked down, mumbling about bad luck and being taken advantage of. Leo stared at his shoes. It turned out Leo had frittered away not only his own chances but had also convinced my parents to invest their retirement savings into his disastrous schemes. Schemes funded, initially, by my stolen college fund. My father finally looked at me, his eyes pleading, yet still somehow tinged with that old expectation of my subservience. "Son, we need your help. This house, it's enormous. You can't possibly need all this space. We need to move in. Just for a little while. Leo too. You have to. Take care of us now. It's your duty. We're family." I let the silence stretch. I looked at their faces, the fake tears, the practiced desperation, the ingrained entitlement. The faces of people who had called me worthless, who had celebrated my brother's mediocrity while condemning my success, who had deemed me background noise. The people who only saw value in me now that I had monetary value. The coldness I'd felt crystallize years ago took over. My voice was calm, dangerously low. "No." My mother gasped. But we're your parents. We raised you. Did you?" I asked, the question sharp like ice. "Or did you raise Leo, and simply tolerate my presence? Did you support me, or did you tell me I was a failure for not being him? Did you celebrate my achievements, or did you brush them aside the second Leo managed to lift a weight or tell a tall tale?" I started walking towards them, slowly. "Let me remind you of a few things you seem to have forgotten. Remember the state physics prize? The scholarship I won? Less important than Leo's practice tackle. Remember being told I'd probably leech off Leo someday? I saw recognition flicker in my father's eyes. Remember calling me background noise? I stood before them now. You told me Leo was the one with fire, the one who'd make you proud. You poured everything into him, my college fund, your retirement, your endless, blind admiration. You made your choice. You invested everything in the golden child." My voice rose, filled with the repressed anger of decades. "Well, your investment went bust. Just like I always knew it would, because unlike you, I saw him for the empty, boastful fraud he always was. You called me the failure. Look around you. Look at yourselves. Look at the mess he made, the mess you enabled." I pointed to the door. "You need help. Ask the son you adored. Ask the golden child to save you. As for me, the failure owes you nothing. The background noise is cutting you out. You are not welcome in my house, you are not welcome in my life. You burned this bridge to the ground years ago. Now, get out." The begging turned to shouting, to threats, to pathetic insults about me being cold and ungrateful. It was like water off a duck's back. I watched them leave, watched their entitlement curdle into impotent rage. I closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it, the silence of my beautiful, empty house wrapping around me like a shield. They tried other avenues, flying monkeys, guilt trips via distant relatives. I shut it all down. Complete silence. Complete freedom. They called me the failure, and now they face the consequences of their own failures, alone. My success is my own. My peace is my own. And sometimes, the most satisfying justice isn't loud fireworks, it's the quiet, unbreakable peace that comes after you finally cut out the rot. So, tell me. What would you have done? Did I go too far, or was this the only way to finally break free? Let me know down below.